104.5 The Team, your home for New York sports. We now head south to warmer climates. Alex Dunno, he's the host of 560 AM, the Miami flagship station for the Dolphins. Remember, this Saturday, Jets-Dolphins right here starting 7:25 on The Team. Alex, what's the status of Ryan Tannehill for the rest of the season?
Well, I don't think he's going to play again this season. Did get some really, really good news, though, on Monday. Coming out of that game Sunday against Arizona, coming out of the injury, him leaving that game, everyone thought it was an ACL tear. I think that was kind of assuming the worst. And then, Monday morning, Adam Gase, the head coach, came out and told us, like, hey, guys, it's an ACL sprain and an MCL sprain, and it's not going to require surgery. So, long term, when you're talking about the off season, you're talking about next training camp, I think that's great news. But I'd be very surprised if his recovery would be quick enough to play again this season. So Ryan Tannehill, we expect, is going to be, stepping aside, and Matt Moore is going to start this weekend against the New York Jets, and I would expect Matt Moore to be the starter the rest of the way.
Do you believe this Miami Dolphins team is a playoff team without Ryan Tannehill in the lineup?
I really don't think so. They're sort of hanging by a thread in the standings to begin with. They have very little room for error because if there's any tie-breaking scenarios, if you finish with the same record with the Denver Broncos and or the Pittsburgh Steelers, you would lose any of the tie-breaking scenarios. So, the Dolphins have to finish at least a game better than Denver if they're going to be able to be a playoff team. And I think there's going to be a visible drop-off from Ryan Tannehill to Matt Moore. I mean, Matt Moore he's considered to be one of the better backup quarterbacks in the NFL. He's been with this Dolphin franchise going all the way back to 2011. So, he's got a lot of experience with these teammates and he's been around with this coaching staff all season long. I think he's going to be able to go out there and do some things. He's kind of a gunslinger guy, so he takes maybe a few too many risks. You might see him, take some chances downfield that Tannehill wouldn't take. I think some of that's going to translate to big plays. Some of it's going to translate to interceptions. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Dolphins can win a game or two the rest of the way with Matt Moore, but I don't think they'd be a legitimate playoff team without a healthy Ryan Tannehill.
Alex Dunno with us right now from 560 AM in Miami on 104.5 The Team. Alex, we've got a rather large pocket of Dolphins fans up here in the Cap region, and I'm always amazed how much they don't like Tannehill. If Matt Moore goes out and wins 2 games this year, is it going to be a fever pitch down there as well as we'll be up here to have him replaced?
It could be. It's one of these strange things, man. He's doing radio down here. You hit the nail on the head. There's a lot of Tannehill non-believers, but I think there's not as many people who are really Matt Moore advocates because the guy's in his 30s now. I don't think you look at Matt Moore and say that there's a chance he's the quarterback of the future, but there is still a pretty large contingent of Dolphin fans who would like the team to move on from Tannehill, meaning take another guy in the first round, look at the quarterback class coming out in the draft this year, and really start to think about transitioning away from Tannehill. So, if Matt Moore were to come out here and complete some Cinderella story where he goes 3-0 the rest of the way, does get you into the playoffs, maybe looks good in a playoff game, I think what you're going to see there are going to be a handful of Dolphin fans, well, more than a handful, who are going to say, you know what, see, Tannehill was more a product of the system. This team can still be great without Ryan Tannehill. I don't think too many of them will look at Matt Moore and say, hey, this has to be the guy moving forward, because I don't think he has a whole lot of time left in his NFL career. But I think some of those fans will say, hey, if we can do the same thing with Matt Moore that we were doing with Ryan Tannehill, why not go out and really try and find a quarterback of the future instead of paying all this money to a mediocre quarterback?
The last time we spoke with you was late October, early November, and we were kind of watching the Dolphins develop into a playoff contender. But early on in the season, no one really knew the identity of this team. What was the biggest reason for the turnaround?
The biggest reason for the turnaround was the offensive line getting healthy for a time. Now, they're not completely healthy now because Mike Pouncey has been placed on injured reserve, but at least having Laramie Tunsil and Brandon Albert playing together on the left side has been a huge boost for this team. But, the last time we spoke, I didn't think there was any chance the Dolphins would be a playoff team, and now they've been trending in that direction, at least after putting together that 6-game winning streak. The sort of arrival of the running game with what Jay Ajayi was able to do going for those 2 straight 200-yard games, I think it woke a lot of people up and realized that, hey, the identity of this football team offensively is these guys can and really should be a power running team and rely on a really gifted offensive line to set the tone with their physicality and open up some of these holes. That's been, I think, the better part of the Dolphins' recent success, winning 7 out of their last 8 games. I mean, Ryan Tannehill was playing pretty well during that stretch also, but I think the credit really goes to the offensive line, the commitment to the running game, never abandoning that, never giving up on that. I would say that's been the number one point of this team's success, because you're right. The last time we spoke was heading into that Dolphins-Buffalo game, the first one, and we were saying, yeah, this team doesn't really have any identity to speak of whatsoever. They've certainly found that.
Alex Dunno from 560 AM, the flagship station, in Miami for the Dolphins. So one of my questions is, does Bryce Petty scare other teams at all? I mean, without Fitz as the quarterback, you see Bryce Petty, he's part of a win in San Francisco. When you're talking to the guys from the Dolphins and everything, is there any fear of a guy like Bryce Petty at all?
Well, they would all say no, but it's kind of a tough group to crack, guys. It's funny because every week, we ask Cameron Wake questions about opposing quarterbacks, and he really downplays everything, whether he's facing Tom Brady or he's facing Bryce Petty. Cameron Wake, I don't know if he really believes this, but he'll tell you, hey, it's just another quarterback. A quarterback is a quarterback. I don't care who we're lining up against. I think maybe the only way that Bryce Petty would concern anybody on that Dolphins roster or the Dolphins staff is just going up against somebody you don't have as much film on. I mean, clearly, going up against a Ryan Fitzpatrick, there's a lot more film out there. You faced him so many times before. And in a little bit here, we're going to talk to the Dolphins defensive coordinator, Vance Joseph, and, I'm sure we're going to ask him about what he sees in Bryce Petty, and he'll probably come up with a long list of reasons why he's dangerous, and also point out the fact that, hey, there's just not as much out there to study from him.
Got the Jets taking on the Dolphins Saturday night right here on 104.5 The Team. Even with Matt Moore in as your quarterback, the Dolphins are a 2.5-point favorite. Is there a scenario you see, Alex, that the Jets pull off this upset?
I think the scenario I see is even more concerning about Matt Moore is the fact that you have Anthony Steen again starting at center in place of Mike Pouncey. Steen had a pretty good start to the year. Early on when Pouncey was injured the first time around, Steen played pretty well the last few weeks, and it's been harder to really protect the quarterback and establish, run blocking in the second level. So I think if the Dolphins can't get the running game going this week, what you're going to see happen, kind of a domino effect, would be if you can't run the football, Matt Moore is going to have to make some plays on 3rd and long, maybe even some 4th down conversions. And I think he's going to be prone to make a few mistakes. I mean, one of really the things that Ryan Tannehill had mastered in this offense had been just limiting the mistakes, limiting the turnovers. There was a stretch when he threw 9 touchdowns to 1 interception during that 6-game winning streak. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if Matt Moore goes out there and makes a few mistakes and puts the Dolphins in some bad spots. So I think that would be the scenario where the Jets would have a clear path to win this football game if the Dolphins lose that turnover margin.
So you're saying there's a chance. All right.
That's all we need.
Absolutely.
Alex, man, we appreciate your time. Make sure if you're ever up this way, you stop by, and I'd offer you a cold drink, but it seems like we probably have to get warm ones at this point.
Yeah, I would love to. And just to let you guys know, it's 82 degrees here in South Florida at the moment.
Gracious. So you know what Alex just did? Even if you win the game, you're losers. Alex, we appreciate you, brother.
Enjoy the weather.
Yeah, and don't get a sunburn.
I'll try, man. Thanks, guys. Enjoy it.